Arch Madness week. It's always a fun week for the Indiana State basketball program as we get ready for the biggest week of the season. We welcome in head coach Greg Lansing following a weekend in Valparaiso, Indiana. Coach, I know you wanted to end the season with a sweep against the Valpo basketball team up at Valpo, but you walk away with a win and you do it without your best player. And I don't think there's an argument. I think the best player in the league in Tyreke Key.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the player of the year in the league too. If I could vote for him, I would have voted for him. So I hope we'll learn more about the all-conference stuff later this week. Hey, the way we came out, the guys were ready. You know, on Friday, they really played well at both ends of the floor. We had a little lull there for about 5 minutes in the second half, but was just so proud of them. They didn't bat an eye. Those guys, knowing how talented Tyreke is and all that he does at both ends for our team, they handled it. They had a plan. They followed the plan. They went in there and took care of business. Now, we played probably 25 minutes of the worst, 25 to 30 of the worst we played in a couple months. And I think we had a little letdown. You know, we tried to get them hyped back up and not be satisfied and go out and do what they needed to do. But happy with how they got it going. They really fought hard and competed at a high level down the stretch. But you can't play that poorly for that long.
For most of the week, actually the whole week, your guys knew that they would be without Tyreke. So it wasn't one of those things where you were kind of traveling on the road and it was a game time decision and kind of wondering how that would go. How did you feel your team responded, not just in that first game, but really responded all week long when you addressed them about it early on that you were going to be without Tyreke for the weekend?
Again, we weren't going to make any excuses, and they didn't bat an eye. We went in there and prepared to win. Took care of business on the first night. They were really disappointed. Some guys were really beating themselves up for how poorly they shot or how poorly they played there for a while in that game. And that's the makings of a good team. You know, it's a team that hopefully we got that out of the way. You know, past couple of years, we've kind of done that when we got to the tournament. But the makeup of this team is much better, very confident, very together, tight-knit unit of really good guys.
During our time here, we've had, I don't want to use this word, can kind of be swayed in different ways, but you know, there's been some times heading into the final weekend where maybe there's been a little bit stress where we didn't know exactly where we would be in terms of the seeding. This time it was the other way around, just didn't know exactly who you would play. Was it nice to kind of have a weekend where you could really just focus on the games and not really have to come to me and be like, hey, what are our scenarios? What do we have to do to get this? It was pretty much set in stone from the start.
No, you were up late Friday night in there with us, the coaches, watching the film, and you send it right there. You send us an email of the scenarios. I don't worry about it. I never do. And when whether local media or however media talking about Thursday, I never think about Thursday. That's not something the program wants to participate in, and it's disappointing if you do. Now we have a couple times, but more often than not, we've been fighting for one of those upper seeds and finished fourth behind three really, really good teams, three veteran teams that have earned it. They're so loaded and so talented. I think they're all NCAA tournament teams, and I'd like to think we are as well.
As you head into this week, what makes you feel like your team's ready for this challenge that's going to be upcoming? You know, we'll get to Evansville a little bit more here in your second segment, but just overall, with how much improvement your team's made throughout the year, what makes you believe that your team's ready?
I think they've made tremendous individual improvement, team chemistry improvement, and our play as a team at both ends of the floor. Tremendous improvement. And I credit our assistants. They do a great job with them, but it's really a big time credit to the guys. You know, we could have hung our heads early, and we didn't do that. We talked about all year, hey, we got to build a team. We got a lot of new guys here. We still got some young faces, freshmen at point, 2 sophomores starting, even though they're experienced, and you're bringing in some 250-year guys, some other guy, you know, and it's different, and it takes time. And to get thrown into who we played were, again, those guys are all veteran teams, and I think those teams had the advantage this year. We just kept plugging away. We're staying positive. We're going to keep improving, and what do you know, 10 of 11, you know, and you're 11 of 13, you're right there in the mix, fighting for something. And again, we didn't play very well for 30 minutes against Valpo, and the guys know that, and you learn from it. We'll break down the film with them today, and we'll move on.
You brought up something that I think is very important to state and to be quite honest with you, overstate, as there's a lot of positives going on. I understand the second game at Valpo is not what anybody wanted, but you look at the stretch run and what your team's done really over the last month and a half. There's a lot to look forward to this week.
Oh, no question. I think BC always has a stat or two here for me there. And I think when he said when we won 10 of 11, only 20 teams in the country had done something like that, and it was a streak. I think we've only done once here, but that's a lot of games in a row to win, to be successful at, especially in this league with the teams that we're playing, and going to back-to-back road games and doing what we've done on some of those. So I'm just happy for him because I tell you what, uh, when we got back late Saturday, I told the guys, this team reminds me a lot of Odom's group. I didn't get to enjoy that as much because I was a younger head coach and I'm just grinding. And with these guys, they're such good people and they're fun to be around. So we've just had a good time. When we cross those lines and we go out there and get to work, we get our work in, but it's a very enjoyable group.
When you cross those lines, a big reason you've been able to get all 18 games in and really to do it without really many disruptions, outside of really kind of trading places with the SIU series and Loyola, and then Evansville, that game that was going to be here in Holman Center kind of got moved around there towards the late. But outside of that, you guys have been really safe this year and continue to knock on the wood here on this desk as well as we get ready for Arch Madness. But big tip of the cap to two individuals that are coming up next year on the show. It's Ken Galetta and Connor Burton. Ken being your strength coach, and then Connor Burton obviously being your head of athletic training within the program. I know a question just simply saying the importance of those two guys and what they've meant to your program this year is a very, very loaded question. But in terms of getting guys ready from back-to-backs, to following the COVID protocols, to testing every day, which they're doing right now, the importance of Ken and Connor's positions, but also the importance of having those two personalities and those two guys filling two critical roles for your team during this time.
Yeah, and I'm knocking on wood too. They're irreplaceable. I mean, and not only their roles and what they do, but how good they are at it. I mean, Connor Burton, we fought, he was our GA for a couple years and fought like crazy to get him to stay on and be full-time. He deserves it. He deserves a raise. He deserves whatever he can get. And the same with Ken. Ken has that kind of a background and as an athletic trainer as well, and now on the strength side. And they're very, very good people. And that's one thing I've always said when I'm a head coach, I'm going to surround myself with good people. My staff's awesome. As you know, those two guys are awesome, as are our players. And you look back, I don't know how many teams in the country. Now we had to get started late. We couldn't go to our MTE because of a couple COVID. We have not had a break. Our guys have done exactly what they need to do when they need to do it, stayed safe, given away their social life, never complained, done all this and been that successful throughout the year. I also commend the Valley staff for what they've done, getting this schedule. We went to the back-to-backs, and home and away. I know that helped us. I commend Doug Elgin and his entire staff and all the schools in the league. We've done as well as anybody here. I'd like to see throughout the country how many teams have gone their whole year without ever having to do anything that was brought on by themselves.
Well, and the other thing to factor in it too, it's one of the things I wanted to look up, and I'm sure the Valley office has, and will more than likely publicize it. I don't think there's too many leagues that can say all league member teams finished every single game and didn't have a single game canceled. I know the back-to-backs, the health concerns and stuff like that, just in terms of guys being fresh, trying to avoid those injuries, which I know we've seen some, honestly, some catastrophic injuries to, you think of Drake in particular, but still got the games in. And even though it's not perfect, this isn't going to be a schedule that I know you as coaches want for years to come. Still, to get all 18 games in is a hell of an accomplishment.
Well, again, and talk about, I can't talk about Connor and Ken enough. Just the type of people they were, but the knowledge. I mean, Connor's testing himself, reading up on stuff outside to prepare to better take care of our guys. Ken does the same things. Our guys love them. And they're not pushovers. They are coaches. I mean, they are very professional at what they do. They're as good as anybody in that field at what they do. And it makes a huge difference for our guys to keep them healthy, to go with Connor, to go through what Tyreek is going through right now and deal with some of the issues with the maintenance that what we've had to do. And I just love them both. I love them both. They're going to be my family for life. And I can't thank them enough for all they've done. And I'm glad you're putting them on the show to get them a little attention.
Oh, they love the attention. No question about it. Ken and Connor coming up next here on the Coaches Show, which is brought to you by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. We continue the Indiana State Coaches Show, which is from our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. And the reason we got through a season is a big thank you to these two gentlemen who join us here on the Coaches Show. That's, of course, the strength coach for Indiana State, Ken Galetta, and then Connor Burton, the head athletic trainer for Indiana State during this time of COVID, during the pandemic. There are all the different protocols. These guys are the ones that, to be quite honest, it added to their job descriptions this year. Guys, number one, we had to have you on both because you're both like the tag team. That's why I've heard you're a great duo. I'm just glad you guys have time. Connor Burton, I'm glad you just have time to talk to us because normally, man, you're going through some sort of protocol list.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Luke. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks, Luke.
Well, it's great to have both of you guys. And Connor, we'll start with you with this. How many things have been added to your plate this year during a pandemic world? And how often have you really been able to focus on really just kind of your main job of course, taking care of the guys, taking care of the program, making sure everybody is safe and healthy, but how really this pandemic world we're in, how that's really kind of changed your job the last year?
So it's tough to kind of put a number on how much exactly has changed for me because I think it kind of fluctuates day to day and week to week. It just really depends on what exactly is going on. But there have been a number of new responsibilities, a lot of which I think once we get through of the COVID-19 era, I'll probably be grateful for because there'll probably be opportunities I'll never have again and a lot of things I can learn from. But I'm involved on our university task force for COVID-19, so not only with athletics, but collaborating across campus as well. Oversee contact tracing for athletics and sports medicine, as well as being in charge of contact tracing for a number of our teams, and then also enforcing our COVID-19 protocols for men's basketball and revisiting policies for the athletic department on a regular basis.
Ken, for you, you guys have kind of had to change your weight room setup. You know, most of the time there's multiple teams in there at one time. Now that's a little different for obvious reasons. You guys have had to kind of makeshift your own weight room in the arena this year for the men when you've had time and for the women as well. What's been the biggest challenge from your perspective this year?
I mean, all of it, really. I mean, going back all the way to the summer, was like you said, we kind of took stuff from that main weight room, made like a little auxiliary weight room out down in the South Gym, right off the courts. So, I mean, that right there, trying to help get that situated, designed right as best as we could be. And then just everything else, having to go to groups, guys, like 3 to 5 guys per group, plus making sure that like with other teams, like back in the weight room, having to do rack assignments, making sure they stay at their own rack. And then just from a programming standpoint, do programming in a way where not everyone's using the same thing. So you're kind of limiting that contact from equipment to equipment.
You know, you talked about the challenges, but what's been maybe the biggest joy you've got out of this year? You know, it's easy to kind of point to things that haven't been the same, been some frustrations, been things maybe not go your guys' way, added some extra stress. I know for you guys specifically, even though you guys won't talk about that a ton, but we'll start with you with this, Ken, and then Connor, you can follow up. What's been the biggest joy you've gotten out of this year, despite the challenges?
Just being able to play. Knowing that you're doing everything all the way back from the summer with a chance at that time, with the chance to play, looking forward to now, and the regular season's done. So just looking back, I was just talking to Connor today about this. We're like, it's already the end of the season. Like, it just seems like yesterday that we played Truman State, and the fact that we were able to play this whole year, knock on wood, with no hiccups. So I mean, that's just been able to play. That's the biggest joy.
Yeah, I think instead of just saying that it's the same thing for me, I would say the second biggest thing that comes to mind for me is just going through all of this together. I feel like we've got a great family atmosphere here with men's basketball. Not only men's basketball, we've also got it with the Center for Sports Medicine and Performance, and also within athletics. Just a great family atmosphere. People get along together really well. So to be able to navigate all this together and work through these challenging times together, I think has been a joy, because it's a great group to do it with.
You know, it's a video project that will come out this week, working with Kellen and Dave McManus, Kellen Norris and Dave McManus, those two that, of course, big part of that Center of Sports Medicine that, Connor, you just brought up. And it's about the dynamics of how important it is that athletic training and the strength and conditioning staff work together. You guys are different in that perspective, but also the same. How important has your guys' relationship been, not just on a personal standpoint, but also from a professional standpoint, and leaning on each other? Connor, can you take that one first? Just how you and Ken bounce ideas off of, because you guys have had dealt with the back-to-backs this year, and I know you and Ken have really had to strategize and how guys rest, recover, and get ready for those back-to-backs like you just went through for one final time this past weekend.
Yeah, I think my relationship with Ken, and I think before I get into that one, I think in sports medicine and sports performance, I think in athletics, I think relationships are a big part of everything that we all do. And so I'm grateful to have a lot of good relationships with everyone, but specifically with Ken, I think it's a very important one, because there's a lot of ways that we can dive into that dynamic and really enhance the experience and the opportunity that is offered to our student athletes, not only from a performance standpoint, but from a preventing injuries, just really a lot of things that we can do to make their experience here at ISU the best that it can be. And I think in a lot of aspects, Ken and I see things eye to eye, which is partially because his background is a little bit similar to mine. I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, but starting off in athletic training and then transitioning into more sports performance, he understands a lot of the ways that I think, and so I think that helps quite a bit. But I think one of the things I've cherished the most with our relationship is that neither of us feel a need to be the one in charge. I feel like we always come to the table at an equal level, and we're both presenting ideas every day, and we're always not trying to one up each other, but we're just trying to just add as much as we can to what our student athletes get each day, whether it's throwing together ideas or putting together a plan together for an individual or the entire team. So I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed the most, is it's much more collaborative as opposed to just one person trying to kind of oversee everything or try to be the one making all the decisions.
The back-to-backs this year, what was the biggest challenge with those from your guys' perspective, and how you came up with a schedule for the guys and how you would rest and recover, lean into those games, but more importantly, that time in between? How did you guys come up with the game plan you did? And now that we're through it, of course, you want to go back to back 3 games this weekend to win the championship in St. Louis on Sunday. But Ken, start off. What were those processes like with the staff to kind of figure out and put your schedule together to where it ultimately got to?
Initially, I was actually very worried about the back-to-backs. Like, if you have a high-minute guy playing 30 plus minutes that first night, what do we need to do to make sure that they're recovered enough to play 30 plus minutes that next night? I think that was the biggest challenge me and Connor kind of talked about with these back-to-backs. So what we kind of did was like, okay, what do we need to do? What can we do that other teams might not be doing? So that's how we kind of came up with weighing them in, weighing them out, pre and post game for hydration purposes, doing some sort of recovery stretch foam roll that night after that first game. even going down to certain types of meals, making sure we have a high carb meal after that first game. Just little things at this point. If at that point we're just kind of figuring out if we can get that much more recovery between that day 1 and day 2, that's the goal.
How about for you, Connor?
I would say the biggest challenge for me was having to room with Ken 2 nights in a row on the road. I mean, one was already a struggle enough, and then you throw 24 more hours in there, and it's just tough. No, that's a big joke.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. All three of us, I think everyone in the basketball program knows that was the truth. But you can continue, Connor Burton.
No, sir.
I would say, I would say it's a pretty similar answer to Ken. It's figuring out what things can we do that maybe other teams aren't necessarily tapping into to help our guys be prepared for that second game, because it really can be a lot when you think about the amount of load on their bodies after playing one night. And a lot of times guys are typically throughout the season, they're used to having that next day off or maybe a lighter practice, working through things from the game the night before. And then now they're turning around and they're being asked, some guys to play 30, 35, 36 minutes again, sometimes 18 hours later, which really in our field, we know there's not a whole lot of time for much recovery at all in that amount of time. So like what Ken said, finding ways that we can help these guys recover, whether it's a soft tissue regen or monitoring their weights closely, that 48-hour window of back-to-back games, and making sure that guys are doing their parts on their own to recover, and helping us kind of educate them on what they need to do to fill in the gaps, I'd say is the biggest thing. But I'm really hoping that kind of doing these back-to-backs is going to get everybody ready for what 3 games in St. Louis is going to be like.
Not to say that Ken is just a superstar, because we know Ken is a superstar, and not that Ken doesn't need any help. But Connor, of course, you get some extra help throughout the year. I know Liz early on, and now Hiroki has been helping out really over the last month with the program. You talk so highly about the athletic training program here. I know it's one that obviously you went through to get your master's here at Indiana State. How nice has it been to see folks like Liz come in, and then of course now most recently with Hiroki, to be around our guys and get to know the program, and not just get to know the program, but to be a part of the program?
Yeah, I think it's really it's great. Athletic training at ISU has had a long standing history of education, and not many people know the last couple of years the professional program took a little bit of a pause as they revamped their curriculum and aligning it with new standards that came out in recent years. And so we actually started a partnership with Boston University this past year, and that's where Hiroki and Liz came from, students of their program that have been with us this school year, and they've been a part of our Tier 1 bubble and going through all of our protocols, and they've brought a lot of great past experiences from other athletic trainers they've worked with, and really have just, I'd say, fit really well into our basketball family and our community here. All of the guys really enjoy being around them and working with them, and feel comfortable going to them with their injuries, and trusting them to help them get better as much as they do working with me. And I think all the staff, the graduate assistants and the managers have all enjoyed having them around as well. So it's really been a blessing to have 2 very high quality students like that, not only giving me an opportunity to teach them, but also, they've taught me quite a few things as well, just the different perspectives that they bring from people they've worked with prior to coming here.
I know most of the time we're wearing these, but I think every time I see Hiroki, he's always smiling, even behind his mask. So that's the personality that Hiroki brings. Ken, we've gotten through, when we look at the challenges, stuff you've enjoyed, just being able to play these games, and, now we got the tournament upcoming. Just in general, I know I say just in general, but what are you most excited about to watch this weekend as you go along, and what has you most excited about what this team can accomplish on the court?
Overall, I think this team can accomplish. I don't think this team hasn't even reached their ceiling yet. The potential on this team coming together playing as one. I think now is the time that they're definitely going to do it. I mean, it's always a joy watching all the guys play. I mean, you're with them every single day, whether that's weights or joking with them in the training room or before practice or after practice. So just watching them play and do the thing that they love, and just knowing that you're part of that family, I mean, that just means the world to me.
Connor, for you, what are you most eager to see with this team this week in St. Louis?
I think I'm pretty eager to see. You know, we have a lot of new pieces this year. Graduate transfers, freshmen that are playing a big role, some returning guys that are maybe playing more minutes or even have higher expectations and roles than they had last year. I'm really excited to see how they all embrace that this coming week. And obviously, we all see a lot of the behind the scenes things that go on within the program, all the work they're putting in the weight room, all the work that the guys are putting in, keeping their bodies healthy and where they need to be. The adversity that the team's gone through, we see it in the locker room. So I'm just really excited to see how all of those highs and lows that we've gone through as a team, how that all kind of culminates and comes together into what's going to hopefully be a very special and magical weekend in St. Louis.
Gentlemen, thanks for the time here on the Coaches Show. Seriously, appreciate all you guys do for me, especially Con, keeping me safe from the COVID so far through this year, being the Tier 1 process. Appreciate you, boys. Thanks for hopping on the show.
Appreciate you, Luke.
Yep.
Thanks
Thank you, Luke. It's always a pleasure.
Coach, the Evansville Purple Aces, you get them for a third time. Kind of the most popular cliches to say. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. You always hear that kind of in the basketball world. What makes it so hard to beat a team 3 times, and what will make it extra hard to beat this Evansville for a third time on Friday?
Well, yeah, they're a talented team. Coach Licklider's done a great job, and they're different than anybody else. The way they play 5 out, spread you, all of them can shoot. They hurt us in the second half of the second game with some dribble penetration, and we beat them both times. And then you got to go play them again, and that we didn't play them very long ago. So it doesn't matter who you're playing. Those teams are good. They're going to be ready. They're going to be well prepared. This is a state rival. Hopefully our guys, there's no way we should ever be overconfident because there were 2 good games with them, and that they're a good basketball team. And we're trying to prepare to go win a championship. So we get a good long week to work on us, get our guys rested up, get Tyreek ready, and then head to St. Louis and hopefully have a long weekend.
How much credit does Tyreek really deserve in terms of how his, I say rehab. I don't think rehab is the technical term and what it's been the last couple of weeks, but to put in the work with Connor to be ready for you guys to be able to play this week. Connor deserves a ton of credit, of course, in providing that guidance, but Tyreek deserves a lot of props in following everything he's being told to get his body ready for the Arch Madness tournament.
Well, everybody, we've talked about his work ethic. Again, there's nobody that's worked harder on his craft than what he has. And he takes it seriously. He knows his body. I mean, how hard he puts his body out there, what the physicality with he plays with, the amount of years he's played and worked as hard as he's worked. His body's a little older than his age right now because of all that he does. But it's important for him to take care of his body. He and Connor helps him, educates him. They have good banter back and forth. Even going into this past weekend when he felt pretty good and wanted to play, I think we all talked and kind of said, hey, next weekend is more important. We're kind of locked in at 4 or 5 where you're supposed to be. But this is a smart guy, a very good teammate, and one hell of a player.
These games, it always seems like, you go back to the year you won it. Played Evansville in that first game. Jake Odom, of course, hits that game-winning shot. Just these games are grinds, all of them. There's really no easy game in the tournament. How would you describe – I know I basically described it for you, but when you think about when you've had success in this tournament, what does it take to have success in this tournament, which you start on Friday?
We had, maybe not over the past couple of years, but we have had a lot of success in the tournament in our tenure. And it just takes the players being in the right mentality. Like I use Odom's team as an example. I remember that last year when we lost a close one to Wichita when if he hadn't got a foul trouble, I think we could have beat him and got another berth over a team with 3 NBA guys on it and a Final Four team. But we went in there and we had our practice the day before over there, and we got going for about 20 minutes. And I just said, that's good. Yeah, you guys are ready. You can, the mentality, like we talked about going into this weekend, competing fiercely and being locked in. You are locked in at the task at hand. You can't play Sunday without winning Friday, but you got to be on a mission, and you got to fight every possession for 3 days if you're going to win a championship like it's your last. And Odom's team's done that, and we've done it in the past and had some good runs in there. Anybody can win this tournament. Anybody can win this tournament. It's going to take some good fortune, but I think we're as talented as anybody. I love this team, and I hope to make it a long weekend for them and a long weekend where our fans. I won some tournament champions who only won one here and won 3 of them when I was at Iowa. And I remember you just don't sleep as a coach, but the adrenaline's going so much, you don't even feel it. Now, when it's over, you shut it down and you're so tired and so exhausted, but it's something the staff and the players are going to put everything we have into.
Well, Coach, I look forward to this time next Monday, having a trophy next to you, and not the 2011 trophy. It's a new one for this year, and recap a Arch Madness championship with you and the team. Give them hell this week, Coach. Have a great week of practice, and look forward to getting to St. Louis there Thursday and get ready for it to start on Friday.
I appreciate it, Luke. Let's make sure we do this a couple more times. And thanks to our friends at 7th and Elm. Maybe Sunday night late, we bring that trophy in there.
Yes, that sounds terrific. That does it for the men's portion with head coach Greg Lansing. When we come back, head coach Vicki Hall and the women, they're coming off a win on senior night in Holman Center. We'll catch up with them as they get ready for the Bradley Braves this weekend. You are watching and listening to the 7th and Elm Bar and Grill Indiana State Coaches Show. It was a senior night to remember for sure for Indiana State last week, knocking off the Evansville Purple Aces really in resounding fashion. Here to talk about that win and preview the upcoming weekend with the Bradley Braves is the head coach and the leader of Indiana State women's basketball. That's Vicki Hall. Coach Hall, really congrats on the win last week. And, I was just talking to you before we started, I'm sure that helps on a weekend where you don't have a game to sit on a win like your group had last week.
Much nicer. It's been tough. Our league is tough. And it's funny. I was looking at it over the weekend, and when you look at our league in its entirety and everyone's records, what's interesting is everyone's losses have come in conference. Predominantly. I mean, when you look at like Valpo or Bradley or Missouri State, or Missouri State hasn't lost yet. But some of the others, the losses are in conference. And that just shows how strong our conference is from top to bottom. I mean, it's tough.
Well, and we talked about heading into the Evansville game last week. Purple Aces were playing well. They split with Valpo. They were able to win that first game on the road against Valpo up in Valparaiso, Indiana. Come in, Abby Fight had a good point production total, but I thought the key really last week was you didn't let anyone else really go off and hurt you too. Abby got her production, but you as a defensive effort were able to control everybody else.
Well, I certainly would have wished that we would have held her a little bit better than 29, but we won. So, okay. Because at first we started off to double a little bit, and we're just not rotating right. We just haven't, we really haven't gotten the continuity and the chemistry still defensively, to talk and to rotate and all that. I mean, that takes time. And for us, being as young as we are, we're still not really getting that and understanding that as well. So we've worked a lot on that this week in practice, that and making sure we're all on the same page when we call it offense or defense, that we all know it and are all doing it. So we're working a lot on that. And last week going into Evansville, we worked a lot on our transition offense. And I think that paid dividends for us against Evansville.
Jamira, getting into the foul trouble there early, I'm sure just from a standpoint of seeing what Adrian did and kind of her absence, that had to be just a huge lift for your group for what she provided in the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, Adrian had played 30 plus minutes, and she's had to the entire year because we've had that kind of foul trouble, and we're not very deep in the post. I mean, we're just not. That it hurt that we didn't have Cece playing this year, and we're down 2 post players, so that hurts us. So yeah, she's been able to do that, and she actually had to play quite a bit of 5 for us, which when we used that rotation, it actually helped us quite a bit in transition, because we're pretty fast with Adrian at the 5.
We're going to have,
short.
Coach, we're going to have Marie on the show as well. And whether you look at the last 2 games that she has played in for you, just 17 points against the Purple Aces the other night on senior night. Senior night's always special just in terms of when a senior can perform well. We saw it on the men's side when Tyreek was able to score 34 on senior night. Really saw it with Marie scoring 17. What was it? What was the key for Marie to have that success after some time off?
Well, I think was transition. I mean, it was really big for us. And Marie can score. I think she also had 10 rebounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, double.
Yeah. And I'm proud of Marie, because she works so hard. She's a yes ma'am type of young lady, and just works her tail off, is always in the gym, wants to be good, wants our team to be good, and just brings a positive vibes. I was really happy for her to do that on senior night.
We're going to take a break here on the show, but when we come back, we'll have Marie Hunter, and then we'll preview Bradley with the head coach of Indiana State Women's Basketball, Vicki Hall. You're watching and listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show, brought to you by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, delivered to you by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. I just called her this. It's Miss Double-Double. Had a double-double on senior night, of course, against the Evansville Purple Aces last week in a win. It's Marie Hunter, the always smiling Marie Hunter. Marie, appreciate the time as always. Congrats on the win last week. I'm sure it had to feel good on the weekend to know that you had a win to sit on here for a little bit.
Oh, I felt really good. The team, we played together as one. We followed the game plan, and it just led to a win. So it was like very successful. Successful, I'd say.
Being able to get the double-double,
really
I
good.
know you always look for great moments, especially on a senior night. I know this is a year that has been unlike any other, and it's technically a year that you can get back if you want. But assuming it is your last year here at ISU, what did it mean to have a night like you did last Wednesday? And I know it was anything but a typical senior night experience.
Just to go out there and just, being able to play and like have my teammates with me and everything, and just having each other's back. So I'll say just like that for the most part. Just being out there with my teammates, playing with my teammates.
What do you enjoy most about your teammates and this team specifically in your final year?
Like on the court or off the court?
Or both?
I'll say on the court that like we have like a good connection for the most part. I mean, even though like when we miss cues and stuff, sometimes we, most of the time we, talk about it and get right back on track. And I know it don't seem like it because of like the wins and losses, but I feel like that's a very special thing to have within like any team. And off the court, I enjoy like hanging with my teammates. I mean, as of right now, we couldn't do it as much because of COVID and everything. So, but like before COVID hit, I enjoy like just hanging with my teammates, going out to eat and just, laughing and everything.
I've heard a rumor about you, Marie, that you can sing. Is that rumor true?
So a little bit. I was just congested, like, so our team and like some of our coaches did like a little challenge, a TikTok challenge, and like I was kind of congested because of COVID and everything. And it sounded like I couldn't sing, but I really can't sing. So everybody was like making fun of it. I couldn't sing.
I mean, are you congested now? I mean, do you want to sing now, or do you want to save that for later?
I think I'll pass. I'll save it for later.
Oh, okay. I got you. I understand that completely. Being somebody that has so much experience for you, you've only been at Indiana State for 2 years, but you've been around college basketball and you've been around basketball for a while. When you see a teammate like Adrian Folks have a night like she did, 23 points, 13 rebounds, and when you think back to Adrian, when you first met her last year, where have you seen Adrian improve?
I seen Adrian like grow in a lot of levels. far as like, you know, running and play, just being like out there being like herself that we know she can be. Like in practice, she go out there and be a dog. So like just her like bringing it out to the court for everyone to see, like other teams. I feel like there was already like within her, like her being consistent, being like a consistent scorer for our team, like in conference. And I feel like we needed that. So I'll say about her just going out there doing her thing and what she knows she's able to do and capable of doing.
Look, the one thing I really appreciate about you and your teammates, and not just on the women's side, but the men's side as well, in all of our sports that are going through this right now, is there haven't been any excuses said. Everyone knows the challenges that this year has presented for your team specifically, Marie. You've had a lot of starting, a lot of stopping, a lot of restarting and get going again. How difficult has it been? Like, not that I'm not saying, you know, you're saying excuses here, but from your perspective, how difficult of a year has this been in your shoes compared to typical years you normally go through?
I mean, this year been like pretty different, way different from like any other year. And like this is the first time we ever had to like, say for instance, if somebody catch COVID or you've been around somebody that had COVID, you send yourself back 2 weeks from like a team that's probably like, you know, you playing next, you just coming out of COVID and you playing a team that's already been like rolling on with their other games. I'd say like the part of like getting back in shape is like probably like the harder part about like the COVID and everything and playing like with like the COVID and stuff going on. And I'd say that's just like one of the hardest parts.
Your senior counterparts should say, Jay, Jamira, and Cece. What makes you guys as a senior class so special? What do you enjoy about your two other senior teammates? I know Cece's been hurt and hasn't been able to play this year, but still, I know the bond that all three of you have is really, really special.
I'll say about us like, you know, being leaders on the team and like bringing energy to our team and like stepping up like when needed. And I feel like that's a bond we all share because we're able to like step up as leaders for our like, you know, our lower classmates and just be like a leader for our teammates and set an example like for what to do for the years to come for them.
You already said it. I know the wins and losses is not exactly where you want it to be, but what makes you feel like, Marie, you can get some wins here down the stretch and that the best basketball that this team maybe hasn't played yet is being saved for really this closing stretch, and you can build off of what was a really good performance last Wednesday?
I'll say just like keep focusing on like what we need to focus on, like as far as who we playing, man, who we are playing, and like just don't think about like games that happened in the past. You know, those games are over. It's 0-0 each team you play, so just come out with like a different mindset and being able to like focus on that team and like attack the game plan that our coaches have for us. So I'll say like just focusing on like finishing the last 2 weeks out really strong, and just like, yeah, basically just focusing on it. I mean, it's not much we can really do, go back in the past and fix. Just like fix our mistakes from the past.
One thing's for sure, Marie, you get both wins this weekend against Bradley. It's going to be karaoke time with you next week here on the show. Okay. So we're going to do some sing along with Marie Hunter next week. You get those 2 wins. I think that's great motivation for your teammates this weekend.
Okay, I got you. You can hold me to it. I'll sing for you, karaoke time.
We are going to hold you to it. Marie, it's been great to see you. You know, these 2 years here, I know the success factor in terms of, I know you wanted more wins, but guess what? You still got more games to go, and you're just coming off playing one of your best games this year. Good luck this weekend, and try to keep the good vibes rolling here towards the end of the year.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Coach Hall, you made it. It's the final week of the regular season before you end up getting ready to get into the testing protocol and all that stuff for Moline and getting out to hoops in the heartland. But Bradley first, you know, Coach Gorski's done a really good job during her time there. Always seems like it's a game that is very physical. It's gritty. Sometimes it may not have a lot of offensive highlights. It can be a defensive slugfest, but is that kind of the case with her team this year, that it continues to resemble what it has been in years past under her?
Somewhat. You know, they have 2 of the most explosive wings in the league with Petrie and Hack. Hack, I don't know how you say it. She's good, both of them.
Yeah.
They average 18. Petrie's at 18 and Hawk is at 16. and they're going to talk about foot on the gas. That's what they do. They're trying to score in their offense in the first 10 seconds. And then they're long and lanky. Their team is very long. So everybody is about 6 feet beside Koenig. And so they want to get in your passing lanes and defend you and then get you to turn it over so they can head out to the races, because that's where Petrie is at her best even. So, they do a good job of that. I think that they miss a little bit of Brackman because she was so dominant in the post. But they have little Petrie, Mari Petrie, who has started to play really well for them off the bench as well. So, they're a good team. They're a good team. There's a reason why they're a top 100 team in the country, because they can flat out score the ball. And they make it tough for you to score because they're so long. So we're going to have to make sure that we get open, make sure that we can run our offenses, try to run on them. So we defend and go out and try to get some of that early offense that we did against Evansville. And then, then we've got to come to the defensive end of the court and try to get some stops. This is where I feel like we've struggled the most this year, is on the defensive end.
When you look in Bradley's wins, such as being a Drake, I know they split with Valparaiso as well. They are coming off 3 straight losses, 2 to Missouri State, and then they got beat by the Redbirds last week. But in their wins, I'm sure the offensive side, like what you just talked about, is what you speak highly of them about. But what's been impressive to where they have been able to knock off a Northern Iowa and a Drake this year within their league schedule.
Oh, yeah, because they can get out and guard you. I mean, they're long. I mean, Drake, when you look at Drake in Northern Iowa, they're a team that's full of 6-foot players as well. And so it makes it hard if you're smaller. Like, you've got to be able to play good disciplined defense. And, that's where we've kind of struggled. So hopefully this is what we're working on. This is what we continue to talk to them about, and what we're trying to get better at day by day is staying in front of people and making it harder for them to score. Because we're not going to easily score in the 80s. Like, we have to have a good night to be in the 80s. But that means we have to defend, because most of our teams in our league are in the high 70s, 80s.
Coach, you've had so much experience this time of year of finding success, back to your playing days and as an assistant and as a coach. What's the key when you get to this point in the season, when you're down to the final week before you get ready for your conference tournament, to make sure that your group's playing your best?
It's about resilience. It's about teamwork and resilience. And because by this time, everybody's done it all year long. And this season has been, even though it's shorter, it's almost longer, because there's just been so many other things other than basketball that everyone's had to deal with. And so it's just being resilient and wanting to withstand, the grind of everything, and not letting it overwhelm you, and being able to play through adversity, because, you're always in basketball. That's what it is. It's just like life. You're going to always get curveballs, and it's how are you going to handle the curveball? Is it going to put you on your butt, and then are you going to stay down, or are you going to get right back up and start fighting again? That's why I love basketball so much, and I always will for my entire life. That's what it's taught me. You don't always get a fair shake. You don't always get the call. You don't always get what you want, but what you can do, it's how you respond to it.
Well, Coach Hall, your group responded in resounding fashion against Evansville on Wednesday last week on senior night, and look forward to building on that this weekend in Peoria against the Bradley Braves. Good luck, and we'll preview the tournament this time next Monday with you.
All right. Thanks, Luke.
Once again, that was head coach Vicki Hall. For Marie Hunter and everybody with Indiana State Women's Basketball, we will catch up with you next week. This has been the Indiana State Coaches Show, brought to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill.